Outside your window, the earth spins quietly. Somewhere far beyond, a red desert waits still, silent, waiting for life. In your mind, the question rises like a soft breath. Could something green grow in that dusty world? Could sunlight touch? A leaf beneath another sky? Tonight, you drift into a garden of questions. Not of roses or daffodils, but of photons, pigments, and planetary hope. A story not just of science, but of survival, wonder, and the quiet genius of chlorophyll. You are not merely falling asleep. You are falling into the future. A leaf, it seems so simple. You've seen thousands in parks, on trees, fluttering in warm wind or crumpled in the turning of seasons. But tonight, under the hush of imagined starlight, you see it differently. You see it for what it truly is, a gate between sunlight and life. It rests gently in your mind now, delicate green and quiet. But within its fragile surface, something astonishing hums. Photons, tiny messengers of the sun, travel across the emptiness of space. They leave the solar furnace and journey 93 million miles, soft and golden, just to arrive at this green sliver of life. And when they arrive, they are received like honored guests. You imagine the moment light touches a leaf, not just the warmth, but the invitation. The pigments in the leaf, mostly chlorophyll, that ancient molecule of green, open themselves. To the light, chlorophyll does not merely absorb light, it dances with it. You don't need to know the chemical symbols just yet. You don't need to memorize names. Just feel what happens. Energy from sunlight is caught and cradled. Water, pulled gently from the soil, is split into parts. Carbon dioxide, gathered from the breath of the world, is woven in. And from these invisible ingredients, a miracle takes place. The leaf makes sugar. The leaf makes life. It's called photosynthesis, a word that means putting together with light. But those syllables feel too mechanical for what's really happening. This is alchemy. This is poetry performed by cells. Because of this process, everything you know exists. The food you eat, the air you breathe, even your own body, built over time by energy that once traveled through a green leaf like this. It's hard to grasp, but soft to feel. You are made of light that has been turned into sugar, and into thought, motion, and memory. You breathe. In slowly, and in that breath, is oxygen, a gentle byproduct of the leaf's work. Plants don't need it the way you do. They release it freely, as if an exhale, gifting it to the air. You take it in without noticing, but tonight, you notice. You honor the exchange. You're connected to this green world in quiet, sacred ways. Imagine. Now, the vast forests of Earth, the jungles and grasslands. The tiniest blade of grass pushing through concrete, and the great canopies that stretch like green oceans. Each one is a collection of tiny sun catchers. A million leaves whispering. And each whisper says, "We are turning light into life." Photosynthesis is not fast. It is slow and deliberate. It does not burn, it builds. And in its patience lies its strength. Plants do not chase, they wait. They do not hunt, they transform. They listen to the sky and reply with sugars and structure. With shade and fruit and seeds that fall in silence, you imagine being a plant, your toes in the soil, your skin open to the sun. No rush, no worry. Only the slow song of light becoming, life inside you, and then a new thought. What if this miracle, this quiet, powerful whisper of green, had to take place somewhere else? Somewhere with no trees, no forests, no oceans of air, no rain or soil, only dust, only cold. What if the leaf had to grow? On Mars? You pause. That question lingers in the stillness. Mars is not a place for leaves. It's not yet, but the idea stays. With you gently unsettling like a seed beginning to sprout. Photosynthesis. This ancient earthbound symphony evolved under a very specific sun, through a very specific atmosphere. The blue skies of Earth, rich in carbon dioxide, full of moisture, dense with warmth. Mars offers none of this freely, and yet it offers something light, soil of a kind. Time. You feel the contrast. Here on Earth, a leaf is at home.
There.
On Mars, a leaf would be a visitor, a stranger in a red frozen world. But what if it could survive? What if it could adapt? What if we could take the whisper of green and teach it to speak under alien skies? The thought is tender, trembling, and yet so human. This desire to bring life where there is none, to light a green candle in a cold and empty land. And that's where your journey begins, not with rockets or robots, but with the softest thing, a leaf. A green breath, photosynthetic heartbeat that has sustained life on Earth for over 3 billion years. This chapter is not about technology. It is about remembering where life begins and what it takes to grow. You watch the leaf again, in your mind. The light falls, the sugars form, the oxygen drifts away. Simple, quiet, perfect, and profoundly hard to recreate. Yet we will try. We are trying. In labs, in greenhouses, even aboard space stations where gravity is missing and days are 90 minutes long, wherever humans go, they carry seeds. Because we are not meant to survive on metal and fire alone. We need things that grow. But to grow in space, to grow on Mars, we must first understand light itself. Not just its beauty, but its rhythm, its color, its shape. How it bends through glass and vacuum, how it feeds or fails to feed. What is light? Really, when you are floating between worlds, you breathe again, soft and slow, because that is where the journey takes you next, not into soil, but into sunlight itself. And in the next chapter, you will follow the photons, their silent journey, their purpose, their song, and how even in space, they still find their way to something green. Close your eyes again. Imagine yourself drifting weightless. Between planets, all around you, stars blink like ancient thoughts. And somewhere, far behind, is the sun. Your sun? Still shining, but here, in this in-between, light feels different. It is no longer warmth on your skin or a dapple of sun through leaves. It is sharp, distant, yet endless. Not filtered by clouds or softened by air. It's just pure, unblinking radiation. And yet, somewhere nearby, a leaf unfurls under this alien sky, not on a tree, but inside a small, glowing chamber. A garden inside a spacecraft. How does it know this is light? How does it grow when Earth's skies are gone? To understand photosynthesis in space, you must first feel what light truly is. Not a beam or a glare, but a wave, soft, invisible, humming with energy. It moves not like a river, but like a vibration. And every vibration holds a color, even if your eyes cannot see it. Blue, red, infrared, ultraviolet, wavelengths, each with their own mood, their own music. To a plant, light is not white or yellow. It is a symphony. And just like a good symphony, certain parts feed the soul or the cell. Chlorophyll listens most to red and blue. Red light warms. It invites calm, steady growth. Blue light sharpens. It sparks structure and shape. Together they create balance, the color code of life. But sunlight, especially on Mars, is not so kind. It is thinner, colder, cut by distance and dust. The red planet does not offer the full score. Only fragments, so we must build light, not borrow it. In space stations and Martian habitats, we craft our own sunrises. Panels of LEDs glow in precise patterns, pinks, purples, silvers. Each diode tuned to mimic the whispers plants love most. We become composers, shaping photosynthetic lullabies. Imagine this. A greenhouse aboard a ship circling. Earth, there's no morning or night, only the curve of orbit. Yet inside, lettuce grows under gentle, pulsing light. The wavelengths shift through the day, red to blue, blue to red like tides. And in this artificial dawn, plants still stretch, still breathe, still live. This isn't science fiction. It's happening now, on the International Space Station. Experiments have taught us how plants bend toward letter rays the same way they once reached for the sun. In the absence of gravity, light becomes not just food, but guidance. Some call it phototropism, the instinct to grow toward light. But in a meditative way, you can think of it as longing. Seed always reaches toward hope. It's light, even artificial light, is hope made visible. And so we feed them. Not just with nutrients, but with glow, with timing, with intention, lights. Switch on in cycles. It's not to mimic Earth perfectly, but to give rhythm. Because just like you, plants need circadian balance. Rest, growth, rest again. Even in space, they keep time. They do not sleep as you do, but they pause. They lower their metabolism. They wait. They respond to the pulse of light and shadow, even if the shadows are programmed. It is not just the presence of light that matters. It is its shape, its silence, its sequence in some future Mars habitat. This will be crucial. The sun there rises differently. Its angle, its hue, its harshness, all strange to Earth-grown plants. To survive, we must build new suns. You picture it now, a dome on the red surface. Inside, glowing rows of strawberries and spinach, not grown in soil, but in trays. Their roots misted, their stems bathed in tailored light, no windows, no open sky. And yet they thrive, because they are not looking for sunlight. They are looking for the signals inside it. They are listening for the notes they know. And we are learning to sing to them gently, faithfully, in infrared and blue. And what of you? You too respond to light, your mood, your sleep, your dreams. The sun wakes you, the stars soothe you. Even now, your body is responding to the absence of glare, the soft darkness. Your melatonin rises, your breath slows, you're photosensitive. In your own way, light is not just for plants. It is the metronome of life, and yet too much, too sharp, too fast can harm. That's why we dim the chambers, why we pulse the LEDs, why we study how to make light feel like light, even when it comes from machines. Because growing on Mars is not only about survival, it is about comfort. A plant that feels safe grows, just like you. So tonight, as you drift, imagine not darkness, but gentle waves of red and blue humming around you. It's a soft spectrum, a quiet sun, and somewhere in that light, a leaf uncurls, reaching, listening, becoming. In the next chapter, we will follow its roots, not downward, for there is no down in orbit, but inward, outward, floating through the strange poetry of weightlessness. You'll discover how roots navigate space, and how direction itself becomes a mystery when gravity disappears. But for now, let the light fade softly behind your eyes. The stars above are still watching, and even without Earth, the plants are still growing. You've known this feeling before of sinking, gently, a root pressing through soil, downward. Not with urgency, but with quiet purpose. On Earth, everything has direction. Everything falls. And roots, like rivers, follow the pull. But in space, there is no down. Imagine it now, a seed floating gently in a spacecraft, still silent, uncertain, no soil, no sky, no gravity. And yet, as if remembering something ancient, it begins to stir. It sends out a shoot, then another. Tiny green fingers stretch toward the light, or what feels like light. And tiny white threads search for what feels like Earth. But the old rules are gone. Without gravity, the plant must guess. And in this guessing, something extraordinary begins. On Earth, roots follow gravity using a sense called gravitropism, a quiet compass buried in every growing tip. Inside the cells are tiny particles called statoliths, dense, sand-like granules that settle to the lowest point of the cell. Wherever they fall, becomes down. It's simple, it's reliable. But in orbit, those statoliths don't settle, they float. And so the plant hesitates. It still wants to grow, it still tries to grow, but it must choose a direction on its own. Without gravity, It listens more carefully, to moisture, to light, to touch. It responds to the faintest cues, a misting of water, a nearby wall, a beam of red. In zero gravity, roots become explorers. You can picture it now, a chamber aboard the International Space Station. Inside, Arabidopsis plants, small, humble, studied endlessly, are growing. Their roots are not plunging downward, but curling softly through air, like dancers spiraling in slow motion, looking for something solid and still. They grow. NASA has studied this. So have Japan, Europe, Russia, and the conclusion, again and again, is quiet but stunning. Plants adapt. Even when everything familiar is gone, they adjust. They find their way, not perfectly, not easily, but persistently. Some roots tangle. Some grow in loops. Some reach toward sources of touch or warmth. But they all continue as if pulled by an invisible memory of Earth. And what does that mean? For Mars? Mars does have gravity. Not as strong as Earth's, only about 38%, but enough for roots to feel a direction again. Still, it's different. Lighter, slower. Plants may not know exactly how deep to grow. They may overreach or under-respond. And the soil? It's not Earth soil. It's regolith, dry, dusty, sharp-edged, no microbes, no worms, no organic cushion. Roots may not recognize it as home. They may need help. So scientists are preparing. They design hydroponic systems where roots grow in water, not soil. Or aeroponic systems, where roots hang freely, misted with nutrients, suspended weightless, fed by air and vapor. It's a strange image, isn't it? A plant with roots in the air, floating. To the plant, it is enough. If the nutrients come, if the light arrives, it can survive. It can even thrive. This is the truth we are learning. Roots are not just anchors. They're listeners, feelers, scientists in their own way. Testing, adjusting, waiting. They do not panic in zero gravity. They grow more slowly, perhaps more curiously. But they still reach, and in that reaching, they still become. And perhaps, so do you. Your mind is used to gravity, to certainty, to up and down. But what if those things slipped away? Would you drift, or would you grow differently? Inside the stillness of this chapter, you feel that question. And maybe in some soft part of you, an answer rises. You too can adapt. In this story of photosynthesis in space, the miracle isn't just in light or air. It's in the roots, and what they do when the rules disappear. Because life is not a pattern. It's a process. It learns. It bends. It listens. So now, as you float deeper into sleep, picture the roots again, white and fine, like threads of thought, winding gently through silence. They do not fall. They explore. And as they do, a new chapter quietly begins to form. What if those roots one day touch Martian soil? What will they find? In the next chapter, we touch down gently on Mars. We listen to the land. We explore its dirt, its dust, its frozen heart, and ask, could anything grow here? Let the questions settle like dust around your dreams. The red world is waiting. The red world rises slowly in your mind. Not with fire, but with stillness. Mars is not the planet of war tonight. It is the planet of silence. From orbit, it looks like rust. A desert in every direction, dry, cracked, cold. Yet so strangely beautiful. Not dead, just waiting. You float closer. You see plains of frozen dust. See craters wide enough to hold cities. You see storms that sweep across the surface for weeks, not with thunder, but with endless whispering wind. And then you touch down, not with your feet, but with your thoughts. Here in your sleep-slowed senses, you imagine standing on that red ground, your boots pressing into dust that hasn't been moved for millions of years. The air is thin, unbreathable. The cold presses in from every side. But still, you ask the question, could something grow here? To answer it, you must meet Mars for what it truly is. Its atmosphere is 95% carbon dioxide, a gas plants can use, but far too thin to hold warmth. It offers no oxygen, no protection from radiation. The surface pressure is less than 1% of Earth's, so low that water would boil away, even at freezing temperatures. There are ice caps at the poles, yes, and water locked beneath the surface. But the liquid kind, the flowing, nourishing kind, is nowhere to be found. The soil, if you can call it that, it's more like ground-up rock, regolith. It holds no life. No bacteria, no fungi, no organic softness. Worse still, it may contain perchlorates, toxic salts that make it harder for roots to survive. You crouch down and scoop some into your gloved hand. It is fine, dusty, reddish-brown. It falls like powdered rust, remembers volcanoes, meteor impacts, and time beyond counting. This is what we are asking plants to live in, and yet, it is not impossible. We've already begun, in labs on Earth. Scientists take Martian soil simulants, mixtures of volcanic ash and minerals that mimic the red planet's chemistry, and they try. They plant radishes, beans, lettuce, they mix. In compost, add nutrients, adjust the pH. Sometimes things grow, not easily, not beautifully, but enough to keep hope alive. You might remember the story an astronaut in a movie, stranded on Mars, growing potatoes in his own recycled waste. Fiction, yes, but not entirely wrong. We know now Martian regolith can support life, if we help it. If we soften it, enrich it, filter out what's harmful, and give it what it never had. Even in the driest deserts on Earth, there is more life than on Mars. But life has always started small. And sometimes it begins in places no one believed it could. And what of the cold? Mars is far from the sun. It receives about half the solar energy that Earth does. At night, temperatures can drop below minus 100 degrees Celsius. Too cold for sap, too cold for 40 breath. But inside a greenhouse, warmed by sunlight, or perhaps nuclear energy, a small corner of Mars can be made gentle again. Inside domes of glass or plastic, humidity can gather.
Oh, yes.
Temperatures can hold steady. Light can be shaped. And in this shelter, seeds can begin to trust the world. It's strange to think about, isn't it? It's that growing a single leaf on Mars requires so much effort, light systems, heaters, filters, nutrients. But when it finally when that first tendril of green reaches up from red soil, it will not be just a plant. It will be a symbol that life can travel. That Earth is not the only garden, and you, quiet, listener, dreamer, voyager, you are part of that story. Now, feel the stillness of Mars again, the wind brushing across rocks that have not moved for eons, the faint light of the sun, smaller than you remember. It's a long, lonely stretch of time, and then, like a heartbeat in the dust, a seed, tiny, unassuming, full of potential, it waits for the warmth to return. It waits for water, for shelter, for light, but most of all, it waits for belief, because to grow on Mars is not just a technical challenge, it is a spiritual one, to believe that life can exist where it never has before. To trust that green can bloom in red dot, we are already building the tools. It's the closed-loop systems, temperature controls, the artificial misperist. But beneath all of that, it's the human desire to nurture, to tend, to care, even millions of miles away. So the Mars problem is not unsolvable. It is only patient. And in the next chapter, you will see how we build the first lights, not in the sky, but beneath a dome. LEDs shaped like sunrises, chambers glowing with soft pink and blue. The first real gardens, beyond Earth, but for now, drift in the stillness. Wait. Let the red dust settle around your thoughts. Mars is not empty. It is simply waiting. Close your eyes and imagine a greenhouse, but not on Earth, not nestled in a field or perched on a rooftop. This one rests quietly in Martian dust, a delicate dome pressed gently into crimson soil. It hums softly, not with bees or breezes, but with light, not sunlight exactly, but something made by us, crafted, designed, artificial. Yes, and yet somehow just as nourishing, because on Mars, the sun cannot do the work alone. Its light travels farther, weakens more. It strikes the atmosphere thin and unshielding, and scatters into something sharp and insufficient. Photosynthesis. That ancient earthborn magic can't survive on scraps of sunshine. And so, we build the sun from scratch. Inside these Martian greenhouses, no glass, lets light pour in freely. Instead, the walls glow from within. Rows of LED panels shine in colors chosen with care. Not white, not yellow, but deep red, royal blue, soft, pink. Each color tuned to speak a different language to a plant. Red for flowering, blue for leaves, green, often ignored. You see, plants don't want all light. They want specific songs, and so we sing them. We give them the red and blue lullaby they have always known, a custom dawn that never burns too hot, a sunset that never fades too fast. You float gently now through one of these chambers. The air is moist, warm, controlled. Tiny fans rustle the air, not to mimic wind, but to keep gases moving. Carbon dioxide is pumped in precisely. Oxygen gathers, then flows into filters, and all around you, under this carefully crafted spectrum, green things grow: tomatoes, lettuce, herbs, even dwarf wheat, curled like golden thread. Their roots stretch into hydroponic trays, no soil, just nutrient-rich water. Their stems lean toward light that never moves. Their leaves pulse slowly as photosynthesis unfolds like breath. Building sunlight indoors is more than brightness. It's rhythm, it's timing. Plants don't just see light, they feel its presence and absence. Too much, and they stress. It's too little, and they stall. So we give them cycles. We dim the lights at night. We brighten them in a gentle arc at dawn. A perfect mimicry of a world they've never seen. This is the art of controlled environment agriculture, and in space becomes not just a method, but a necessity. You might wonder, why not just use real Martian sunlight? Sometimes we do. In places closer to the equator with translucent greenhouse walls, we might let filtered sunlight in. It's just enough to warm the space. But even then, let's supplement the rest, because Martian sunlight is unpredictable. Storms can last for weeks, clouds of fine dust blocking most of the light. The atmosphere itself lets in harsh radiation, not warmth. And every extra watt of heat must be monitored, balanced, contained. So artificial light becomes not a backup, but the main event. We can control it, tune it, time it, and in this control, there is peace. Imagine you are an astronaut months into your mission. Outside, the red world is silent, still. But inside your greenhouse, there is light, soft, soothing, alive. You step inside the dome. You feel humidity rise. You see shadows fall across vines, leaves, stems. And for a moment, it smells like earth. Not exactly, but close enough. The basil reminds you of dinners back home. The green curling of kale reminds you of spring. And the light, steady, gentle, feels like memory. This light doesn't burn your skin. It doesn't change with weather. It simply offers energy, warmth, the promise of growth, and the plants respond. Quietly, they open their stomata, tiny pores along each leaf. They breathe in the carbon dioxide you exhaled hours ago. They breathe out oxygen you'll inhale. Tonight, you and the plants. A closed loop, a soft exchange, a partnership built on photons and trust. Back on Earth, we're already practicing this in Arctic research stations, in vertical farms inside shipping containers, in underground bunkers, where sunlight never touches. These are more than experiments. They are blueprints. Each lead-lit lettuce leaf tells us it's possible. We can grow without soil. We can grow without gravity. We can grow without sun. So long as we understand what a plant really needs. Light, yes, but not just any light. The right colors, the right cadence, and you. You are growing too, maybe not with chlorophyll, but with understanding. You followed the light from photons in space to to LEDs and domes. You've seen how sunlight can be sculpted, how energy can be offered with precision and grace. But plants do not grow from light alone. They need air. They need water. They need nutrients. They need care. So in the next chapter, we will tend to those needs. We'll drift gently into the systems that support life in space. Not just light, but breath. Not just warmth, but water. A garden is more than what it receives. It is what it recycles, what it transforms. And on Mars, every drop, every molecule, every trace of life must be used wisely. For now, rest beneath the glow of artificial dawn. Let the red and blue light flicker softly in your thoughts. The garden is lit, the leaves are rising, and tomorrow we water the stars. Light fills the greenhouse like a soft breath. But plants cannot live on light alone. To truly grow too, root, to rise, to blossom, they need more. And in space, every need becomes sacred air. Water, minerals, each one must be gathered. It's given and recycled in quiet, endless loops. Because on Mars, nothing is wasted. Let's begin with air. The plants you imagine, leafy and green beneath, they're glowing lights. They do not simply exist. They breathe. They take in carbon dioxide, the same gas your body releases with every exhale. And with the help of light, they transform it, split it, stitch it into sugars, and then give something back. Oxygen, a soft gift, a silent one. This exchange, you give them your breath, they give you theirs, is the foundation of life in a closed world and in a Mars habitat. That exchange must be perfect, balanced, measured with care. Sensors watch every molecule. Levels are tracked in real time. If they fall too low, plants starve. If they rise too high, people cannot breathe. So we tune the mix like music. Some systems capture carbon from exhaled air. Others scrub it clean. And some of the most beautiful ones feed it directly to the plants. It's like offering your size as soil. Now let's turn to water. On Earth, it flows freely from clouds to rivers to roots. But on Mars, there are no rain clouds, no rivers, no groundwater we can trust. And so, every drop must be made. Water on Mars comes from ice, from underground, or from within. We recycle it from sweat, from condensation, even from breath. You exhale water vapor each time you breathe. Machines catch that vapor, condense it, purify it. They return it to tanks, pipes, misters. In this closed system, you and the plants share the same water, again and again, and the plants give some back. They release moisture as they photosynthesize. Their leaves glisten with tiny droplets, a silent thank dash. You imagine a greenhouse where not a single drop is wasted, where humidity is gathered from the air, sent through filters, and dripped back to the roots. Hydroponics. Aeroponics. Each method designed to use the bare minimum, but give the maximum. No muddy fields, no runoff, just roots held gently in. Nutrient mist, fed in pulses, monitored by sensors. This is not farming, it's orchestration. And what of minerals? Plants, like people, need more than light and water. They need nutrients. Nitrogen for leaves, phosphorus for energy, potassium for strength. On Earth, these come from soil, rich with the bones of ancient life. But Mars has no such legacy. Its regolith is barren, so we bring nutrients with us. In powder, in liquid, in chemistry, or we recycle them from waste. Human waste, plant waste, bacterial byproducts. Yes, it's strange at first, but life is a loop, and what once was discarded becomes vital again. Compost isn't dirt, it's memory transformed. In some systems, beneficial microbes break waste down, turn it into something usable, safe, balanced. In others, chemical reactors strip what's needed from the unusable. Ammonia, nitrates, iron, zinc, each element measured like a recipe. Too little, and the plant withers. Too much, and the root recoils. So we feed them in droplets. Precise. It's perfect. Almost whispered. This is the beauty of space gardening. It makes you humble. You realize how much life depends on invisible things, how much effort goes into a single leaf. You see a tomato and understand this fruit came from your breath, your water, your care. And when you eat it, the cycle begins again. There is no waste on Mars, only material waiting to be transformed. Gray water becomes irrigation. Urine becomes nitrogen. Even dead leaves feed the next generation. And the air you breathe tonight may have passed through a plant just hours ago. Imagine the intimacy of that. You and the plant connected. Through breath, through water, through the quiet chemistry of survival. And so, as you drift tonight, let this thought hold you. Every drop of water, every molecule of air, every mineral clinging to a root, matters in space. Life doesn't waste. It remembers. It reuses. It recycles with reverence. And in the next chapter, you will see what all this care leads to. A real greenhouse. Not a prototype, not a dream, but a functioning Martian garden. You'll walk among the plants, feel their warmth, taste their sweetness, and know in your quiet heart, we are not just surviving in space, we're learning how to grow. You step into the greenhouse. The outer door seals behind you with a hush. The air changes. It is warmer here, softer. No longer the dry, thin whisper of Martian wind, but something richer. Humid, living. You pause. You breathe, and you realize you're not alone. All around you, plants are growing. Real plants. Real leaves. Not on Earth, not in orbit, but here on Mars. The first Martian garden. You walk slowly past rows of lettuce, basil, dwarf wheat. Their leaves stretch toward lead suns, pulsing red and blue. The air smells faintly of mint and warm soil, or something like soil. Hydroponic trays hum beneath your feet. Clear tubes pulse with nutrient-rich water. Tiny fans circulate the air in rhythmic worry. And the plants? They breathe to their stomata open, unseen, releasing oxygen into this shared world. They exhale what you inhale. You exhale what they crave. This isn't farming. It's communion. You pause beside a tomato vine. Its fruit is small but firm, red against the green like a flame in low gravity. You reach out gently and pick one. It comes free with a soft snap. You bite, and for a moment, you forget where you are. The flavor is earthy, bright. It tastes like memories of home, of summer, of gardens far away, and yet it was grown here. In a place where no plant should survive, in a place of dust, silence, and cold. This dome is not large. It cannot feed a full crew alone. But it is proof that with care, with balance, with patience, we can make life bloom in the most unlikely places. Each corner of the greenhouse tells a story. A tray of radishes, short-lived, fast-growing, used for early trials. They were the first to sprout on Martian soil simulant mixed with compost. Their roots explored the new terrain, their leaves gathered light, their bodies told us it's possible. Nearby, a batch of peas climbs gently up a mesh wall. Their tendrils curl in spirals. Reaching for structure, a soft instinct written into their genes, and tucked into the back corner. A patch of microgreens, fast, dense, nutritious. Perfect for space crews. Perfect for hope. You notice something else too. This garden is quiet, but not silent. There's a hum, the sound of life systems working in harmony. The glow of the LEDs, the occasional drip of water, soft sigh of fans. It becomes a kind of lullaby. A reminder that even here, so far from Earth, life can find rhythm again. Not chaos, not noise, but balance. You bend down, brushing a leaf between your gloved fingers. The texture is familiar, soft, waxy, alive, and in that moment you feel it. This isn't just a greenhouse, it's a home. The first true shelter from the void. Not built with steel and algorithms, but with green. The kind of green that soothes the mind. That softens the sharpness of space. It brings something human back to the inhuman world. Gardens are not luxuries. They're necessities of the soul. NASA knows this. Astronauts report it all the time, even in orbit when plants grow in small bags or trays. Crew members return to them again and again, to water, to prune, to smell, to feel. It's called psychological anchoring. It's just comfort, the kind that only living things can offer. On Mars, the comfort becomes even more vital. After months of sterile surfaces, harsh winds, red dust that clings to everything, this dome becomes a sanctuary. Here you can sit, close your eyes, let the scent of basil remind you of kitchens back home. Let the sound of water whisper lullabies to your thoughts. Even in low gravity, your body feels lighter here. Not just physically, but emotionally. The garden cradles you. It accepts your presence. It gives back. This is the future. Not just of space travel, but of space living. You cannot survive on machines alone. You cannot breathe numbers. You cannot eat algorithms. You need plants. You need texture, color, growth. You need something that changes softly. Every day, and in this Martian dome, you begin to believe that such a life is possible. Now, let the garden fade gently in your mind. Not disappear, just dim. The red and blue lights hum around your thoughts. The plants continue to breathe, even as you sleep. And tomorrow, when you return to this quiet dome, something will have changed. A leaf unfurled, flower bloomed, seed, perhaps, just beginning to stir. Because this is what gardens do. They remind you that life continues. And in the next chapter, you'll follow the seeds. You'll discover how we send them to Mars, how we choose them, protect them, ask them to sleep, till it's time to wake and grow. But for now, rest in the hush of the garden. You are no longer just a visitor to Mars. You are part of something growing, long before a garden can bloom. A seed must sleep. It waits perfectly still, a tiny package of potential, no bigger than your fingertip. It holds no color, no scent, no motion. And yet inside it remembers everything. Sunlight, soil, rain, even gravity, even earth. Now close your eyes and picture them. Thousands of seeds, cradled gently in darkness. Stored in airtight capsules, packed into cold boxes for the long journey ahead. They are not fragile. Not exactly. But they are precious. Because inside each one is a map, a silent code written in green ink. Instructions for life written. In molecules, they will travel farther than any seed before. Beyond the atmosphere, beyond the moon. Toward a red world with no gardens. Yet, before they can grow, they must be chosen. Scientists sort through thousands, testing for hardiness, for speed, for nutritional value. Which ones will sprout quickly? Which ones can survive in less light, less gravity? Which ones need less water, but still offer nourishment? And it's not just function, it's emotion too. Lettuce for crunch, tomatoes for color, herbs for scent and memory. Each plant is chosen not just to feed the body, but to feed the soul. Then the seeds are cleaned, dried, sealed in vacuum-tight pouches, labeled like treasure. They are loaded into cargo containers bound for space, tucked among instruments and cables and food. But unlike machines, they carry no moving parts, no batteries, no metal, just patience. The journey to Mars is long. Months pass, the ship hums. The stars watch, and inside a dark locker, the seeds wait. They do not age, they do not grow. But they remain alive in a kind of paused breath. They feel the cold, the silence, the weightlessness, but they do not complain. They simply wait for the right conditions, warmth, light, moisture to begin, and when they arrive, they are still the same, still dry, still asleep, but the moment they are placed into trays, into softened Martian regolith or warm hydroponic mist, something shifts. Water touches their shell, light returns. Warmth rises, and slowly they wake. First, they crack, split, almost invisibly. Then a thread emerges, a root, white and soft as breath. It reaches downward or sideways, searching, sensing. Then comes the shoot, green, slender. Seeking light, a seed becomes a sprout becomes a plant, and the plant becomes a part of the Martian story. Not all seeds will make it. Some will fail to germinate. Others will start strong, then fade. But even those that don't thrive teach us, they help us understand what life needs in a place where life has never been. They guide us. Think of it this way. Every seed that reaches Mars is like a letter from Earth, written not in words, but in chlorophyll and roots and memory, and when it opens, it speaks. Not loudly, not quickly, but with quiet certainty. I am still alive, and I remember where I came from. You, too, are like that seed, traveling, waiting, carrying the instructions for who you are, even in silence. And just like the seed, you will bloom in strange places, when the time is right, when the light returns, when the warmth arrives. So, tonight, rest like the seeds do, wrapped in quiet, waiting for dawn, full of the promise of green things. And in the next chapter, we'll watch those promises unfold as the Martian garden becomes part of something bigger, not just survival, not just food, but a living ecosystem, a self-sustaining world within a dome, where every plant, every breath, every drop of water joins a circle that never breaks. But for now, sleep in your shell, safe, whole, ready to wake when the light finds you. The Martian garden grows, day by day, leaf by leaf. Its roots deepen into trays, not soil. Its stems lengthen towards synthetic light. But something more important is happening here. Invisible, gentle, essential. A circle is forming. You feel it when you breathe. Inhale, and oxygen, made by leaves, fills your lungs. Exhale, and carbon dioxide flows back into the air. A gift to the plants, they take it in. They break it down. They use its carbon to grow, to build, to bloom. And they return the oxygen, a silent, seamless exchange. This is how it works. On Earth, on Mars, wherever life exists. A loop, a balance, a quiet rhythm, and it doesn't end with air. Water, too, moves in circles. When you drink, it's the same water that once flowed through tomato stems and basil leaves. When you breathe, you exhale moisture vapor that is caught, condensed, purified. It returns to the plants in mist. They absorb it, use it, release it. Each drop circles again, never lost, only transformed. Even your waste, the parts you discard, finds purpose here. Leftover scraps, uneaten stems, peelings, compost, they are broken down by microbes, tiny recyclers, working in the dark. They convert the old into the new. Carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, nutrients that flow back into the system, back into the roots, back into the next leaf, the next fruit, the next breath. This dome is not just a garden, it's an ecosystem, a miniature Earth, a self-contained world with no outside help. A place where everything that lives supports something else, where life is not linear, but circular. The term is bioregenerative life support, long name for a simple idea. Life supports life. Instead of machines alone maintaining air and water, we let plants do what they've always done. Photosynthesize, transpire, grow, decay, renew. It's not just more efficient. It's more human, because when you're far from home, living inside a machine feels cold. Living inside a forest, even a tiny one, feels like being alive. You walk through the dome now, slowly. Behind you, your breath swirls in the warm air. Around you, plants move almost imperceptibly, leaves turning toward light. Roots adjusting in their trays. They do not speak, they do not sleep, but they respond to your presence, to the carbon you give, to the humidity of your breath, and they give something back. Not just oxygen, calm, color, comfort. You feel it settle into your bones, the sense that you're not alone here, that this place works. Because it is alive. In this circle, nothing is wasted. not even time. The slow growth of a plant, the stillness of night, the quiet exchange of molecules. It all matters. And maybe you realize something else too. You're part of this circle, not a visitor, not a controller, but a member, participant. You give, you receive, you breathe, and are breathed back. This is what space teaches us, that we cannot survive alone. That every part of us, our waste, our breath, our warmth, has a role in something bigger. That nature doesn't waste. It weaves, and that the best way to live is to live together, even in the smallest dome on the farthest world. So now rest gently in the rhythm of the circle. Inhale, exhale. Let your body join the loop. Let your dreams become part of the cycle. Water drifting into mist, light falling into leaf, breath folding into air. And in the next chapter, we leave the greenhouse and look up at the stars above Mars, at the long journey ahead, and ask, if we can build life here, where else can we grow? But for now, you are here. Inside the circle, inside the breath, and everything is working. The airlock hisses. The soft warmth of the greenhouse slips behind you, and ahead is Mars. Not the garden, not the dome, but the real surface. Red dust. Vast silence. A cold wind without sound. You step forward in your suit, your breath echoing inside your helmet. Your footsteps leave marks in a planet that has never known footprints. And above you, stars. Endless, sharp, scattered across a black sky. They don't twinkle here. There's no thick atmosphere to scatter their light. They shine steadily, watching. In this stillness, a question rises. Could this whole world become a garden someday? Inside the dome, everything was controlled. Warm, safe, familiar. But out here beyond the dome, the real challenge waits. Because building gardens indoors is only the beginning. What about outdoors? What about terraforming? Terraforming. It sounds like fiction, turning an entire planet into a place like Earth. A world with breathable air, flowing water, growing forests. Could Mars' dry, cold, silent Mars ever become green? The idea is ancient in science fiction. And now, softly, science begins to explore it too. It starts small, with lichen, moss, hardy microbes. Life that can survive extremes, cold, UV radiation, nutrient-poor soil. We test them in chambers on Earth and deserts and Antarctic outposts. We send them to the ISS. We place them in Martian simulants. And some survive. Some grow. Some adapt. It's the first whisper of a long, long process. Mars needs warmth. Its atmosphere is too thin. Its surface too cold. So scientists dream of releasing greenhouse gases, of building orbiting mirrors to focus sunlight, of dark dust spread across ice caps, melting them slowly, all to raise the temperature, all to thicken the air, all to make this world breathable again. But these are not short-term plans. It would take centuries, generations, and yet every forest begins as a seed. Out here, under the stars, you feel the scale of time, the patience of planets, the slowness of change, and still, you wonder, could your descendants walk this plane without suits?
Nice.
Could children one day chase butterflies across red meadows? Could a river, real, flowing, cool, ever cut through this dust? It's not just about science. It's about longing. It's a human desire not just to visit new worlds, but to belong to them, to plant roots, to make homes. Outward. Outward. But perhaps, instead of changing Mars to suit us, we learn to meet it halfway, to live in domes, to grow in harmony, to adapt gently, like plants growing in low light, like humans breathing recycled air. Above you, a shooting star arcs faintly. Maybe it's a meteor, maybe it's debris, but it looks like a promise. Even in this silent, still night, motion continues, hope continues. You turn back toward the dome. Its walls glow softly, a heartbeat of red and blue. Inside, life is unfolding, slow, steady, sacred. And you feel something stir in you, not just awe, but responsibility. We're to build life here, not just survive, but thrive. We must do it carefully. With listening, with respect, with wonder. You pause one last time. The wind moves dust across the plain. Your visor fogs slightly with your breath. The stars continue to shine, silent, unchanged. But down here, on this strange world, life is beginning to whisper back. And in the next chapter, you return to the dome, not as a visitor, but as a tender of this new life. You'll explore how tending the garden, day after day, becomes a form of healing for the planet and for you. Because Mars isn't just a frontier. It's a mirror, a quiet place that reflects what we bring and what we choose to grow. But for now, rest beneath the Martian stars. Let the silence wrap around your thoughts. The world is vast. The journey is long. But something green has begun. You wake before the lights do. In the soft dark of your sleeping quarters, you feel the quiet presence of a world still turning outside Mars. In its endless stillness, waits just beyond the walls. The garden, just a few steps away, breathes. In the dark, it is your first thought in the morning, not emails, not alerts, not problems, but leaves. Green ones. Growing, you rise, stretch slowly, and begin the ritual. You step into the greenhouse like entering a temple, not of stone, but of breath. The lights begin to rise, a simulated dawn, soft and pink, spilling across leaves like warm mist. The plants wake with you. They do not rush, do not speak. But their stems lean ever so slightly toward light. You begin your rounds, checking the nutrient levels in the hydroponic trays, gently adjusting the pH, wiping condensation from the dome windows, refilling the carbon dioxide reservoir, touching each plant with your eyes, your thoughts, your quiet care. This isn't farming, it's listening. The plants don't demand. Don't hurry, they just are, and in their stillness, you find your own. You used to live in fast cycles. Back on Earth, every moment filled, every calendar crowded, every breath half held. But here, time is different, measured in millimeters of stem growth. In the slight shift of a tomato from green to blush red. In the weight of a harvested handful of arugula, days stretch, thoughts slow, and something inside you begins to soften. The plants don't just grow, they reflect. You see your mood in their posture, your discipline in their yield, your energy in their leaves. If you rush, you miss. The signs, a slight curl at the edge of a basil leaf, a pale spot on a lettuce crown, a root that drinks too quickly. But when you move slowly, when you care fully, they respond. They grow better. So do you. You take breaks in the garden now, not because you must, but because you want to. You bring your meal here, reheated soup, a rationed roll, and sit among the vines. The smell of parsley mixes with the quiet hum of leads. You listen to the soft rhythm of air cycling through vents. You feel something like peace, not the loud, sudden kind, but the deep kind. The kind that feels like soil warming in spring at night. Before lights dim, you whisper to them. A habit. Now, maybe a superstition, maybe a comfort. Thank you, you murmur, or sometimes just their names, the little labels handwritten on each tray. You think of them as crew, not passengers, not cargo companions, silent ones who breathe with you, who wait for you, who feed you in more ways than one. Something else is happening. 2. You've stopped counting the days. At first you marked time in careful logs. Sol 1, Sol 12, Sol 34. But now you measure by different rhythms. The first flower, the second harvest. The day you tasted the second generation of tomatoes, grown from seeds harvested here, not sent from Earth, that was the day you cried. Not from sadness, from something deeper. Recognition that this world is becoming yours. You are becoming part of it. The garden grows, so do you. You learn its moods, it learns your care. Some days it gives more than you expect. Other days, it struggles. You don't take it personally, because growth is never perfect, and tending is never wasted. Now the lights dim again. Dusk in the dome. You wipe your hands, log the day's data, whisper your goodnights. The garden rests. So do you. But something carries on. Roots still stretching in the dark. Leaves still unfolding slowly, quietly in the pause between lights. In the next chapter, you'll look not just at what you've grown, but at what you've become. Final chapter will follow you beyond Mars, into the meaning of growth itself, what it means to plant something where nothing lived before, what it means to bring Earth with you, gently, what it means to be a gardener of other worlds, but for. Now breathe in the green silence, let it fill your chest like warm air. You are not alone, and neither is Mars. It began with a question. Can we grow food on Mars? A question wrapped in wires and sensors, in soil simulants and light panels, in calculations and constraints. But now, after all the cycles, all the tending, all the quiet, mornings and the glowing nights, something deeper. It was never just about food, it was about belonging. You stand in the greenhouse, fingertips brushing across warm leaves. Outside, the red world remains untouched. Still, foreign, but inside. Something has changed. The dome no longer feels separate. It is Mars now, not imposed upon it, but growing within it. The roots beneath your feet, the breath in your lungs, the oxygen in the air, they all form a thread, not just of survival, but of relationship. You remember the first sprout? How small it was? How you bent to see it more clearly, heart swelling at the sight of green on a red planet? You remember? The first tomato, the first harvest, the first moment you realized that this place, this distant frozen dust ball, had begun to give something back. Not just data, not just challenge, but life. In that moment, the line between Earth and Mars blurred, not in science, but in feeling. Because when you can grow something in a place that never knew life, you aren't just surviving, you are healing. Back on Earth, gardens are everywhere, on rooftops and backyards, in windowsill pots warmed by morning light, and here millions of kilometers away, you've created another dot, different in form, but not in spirit, because gardens are not defined by location, they're defined by attention, by care, by patience, by the willingness to nurture something slow and to let it nurture you in return. The future is uncertain. Will Mars one day bloom with forests? Will its valleys ring with rivers and birdsong? No one can say. But this dome, this small cradle of green is the beginning, a message written not in code but in roots and breath. We came not to conquer, but to grow. And you carry the garden now, even if you leave this planet. Even if you return to Earth, you carry its memory. The warmth of lead sunrises, the smell of mint and recycled air, the feeling of a leaf uncurling in your palm, and deeper still, you carry what it taught you, that life is fragile, but persistent. That silence can be full of meaning. That time, when slowed, becomes sacred. That growing something, anything, is an act of faith. So wherever you go next, back to Earth, to Luna, to other moons, to other stars, remember, you are not just a scientist, not just a technician, not just a traveler. You are a gardener of soil, of air, of light, but also of hope. And now, as the story closes, you return to the seed, the one that slept quietly. Through the long, cold voyage, carrying inside it the memory of spring, it asks nothing but light, and offers everything in return. The question is no longer, can we grow food on Mars? We have. We do, Will. The question now is, what else might we grow? Rest now beneath imagined stars and soft leaves. Let the rhythm of photosynthesis slow your breath. Let the hush of the dome fold around you. You've made it. From Earth to Mars, from question to answer, from silence to song, in the garden you planted. It grows still.